Welcome back, guys. Week 10 of our season is in the books, and we have come away with another impressive win in Kyler Murray's return from injury. Before we get started, remember to like, comment, subscribe, turn on the notifications down below, and let's get straight into talking about what happened in that last game. We got Kyler Murray his long-coming victory in his first game back from the torn ACL as we defeated the Atlanta Falcons with a score of 34-9, and it just felt like this one was forever in our hands, but let's discuss how we got there. We completely dominated this Atlanta offense, and it started with how well we locked down their dynamic rookie running back, Bijan Robinson. Working from behind for the majority of the game, he only got the ball 10 times on the day, and we held him under 40 yards. And their passing game didn't do much better as the second-year quarterback Desmond Ridder completed a mere 31% of his passes. Those completions did get him 169 yards and an eventual touchdown, but he also ended up throwing a very early interception. And that interception came from none other than Marco Wilson. He had a pretty quiet day overall, but he had some big breakups late, and this key takeaway came after we took the early lead, and it would very soon after lead to us doubling that same lead. Now, this defensive masterclass was led by our breakout edge rusher, Bryce Huff. He ended up finishing with 4 tackles, but 3 of those tackles ended up dropping Bijan in the backfield for losses. And when Huff gets going, not far behind is Clelin Ferrell. He had so many pressures on the day, and he ended up getting in the backfield twice, but one of those ended up taking down Ridder himself for the sack. And our last big-time defender was our veteran corner, Xavier Rhodes. He also was quiet for most of the game, but he had a specific play where he saw Ridder trying to extend, and he crashed down to drop him for the sack and force the punt for Atlanta. Before we switch sides, let's talk about the Falcons' only touchdown scorer on the day, and that was their second-year receiver, Drake London. He ran a nice comeback route in the end zone and got a very nice catch to get them 6. Now, the story of this game revolved around the season debut of our QB, Kyler Murray, and he was dominant today. He threw for just under 250 yards, ended up tossing 2 into the end zone, but he also showed that the ACL is feeling better than ever as he took off 6 times to get over 60 rushing yards on the day. Now, he wasn't perfect as at the beginning of the second quarter, it was the Atlanta's young linebacker Arnold Ebukati who not only got home for the sack, but he also stripped the ball out, forcing the fumble, but it was our rookie tackle Paris Johnson who dove back on the ball to retain possession. Many wondered how our running game would produce after losing James Conner a week ago, but the duo of Williams and Clement got it done as they combined for over 40 yards through the air, 100 plus on the ground, and they also ran 2 and 4 touchdowns. While their defense was definitely outclassed today, it was by no means due to the play of the former Lion, Jeff Okudah. He operated well today in coverage, and he also did well against the run as he found his way into the backfield for 2 TFLs. And the other standout was Michael Walker. He finished his day with 8 total tackles, 1 of them going for a loss, and due to our domination, we entered David Blau in our backups late in the game, and Walker picked him off near the end zone to prevent another score. But our receivers should be recognized for their success as well, starting with our slot receiver, Rondale Moore. He finished with 3 catches going for 62, and he did well to come away with some great physical grabs. One of Murray's touchdowns came from the rookie, Michael Wilson. He got open on the left side of the end zone and goes up to bring the ball down from his QB to secure the touchdown. But by far, our best play of the day came by the way of Trey McBride. He finished with 7 receptions going for over 65, with his most impressive one coming early in the first quarter as he got it off the seam, powered through Grant, and with a great effort stayed on his feet to get across the goal line for the score. And after the game, we received word that the NFC Offensive Player of the Week was none other than our own Kyler Murray. Not too bad of a return there. But it was then we advanced the week, and as we looked over our potential contract extensions, we saw a few guys we haven't seen quite enough of just yet, and a lot of guys we feel we can improve upon in the offseason, so we will be holding off on that front for now. After that, it was time for us to choose our 3 players for focused scouting, and one of the biggest weaknesses on this team is the offensive line, and Kelvin Beachum, who has been playing at right tackle, is not getting any younger, and he is most definitely starting to show it. And the other big weakness is our defensive tackles. While the rest of our line has been great, continuing to improve and get younger is never a bad thing. With that being said, the idea of taking either with one of our first round picks has become more than tempting, so we decided to select offensive tackle Luke Alexander out of Alabama, guard Jaden Williams out of USF, and defensive tackle Antonio Silvers out of Iowa State. We were not done discussing draft prospects just yet, as then our assistant GM said that we might want to take a deeper look at the outside linebacker, Andrew Barker. He's been standing out recently due to his football IQ, and we responded by saying that's perfect. We will take a look at the tape and the scouting report to see if he could be a good fit. And we found his report, 6 foot, 230 pounds, and a young 21 years old out of UCLA, and he's projected in as a day 2 pick. But it looks like as great as he is taking angles and tackling ball carriers, he struggles to work off of blocks, but we will definitely keep an eye on him. Following this, we then move to our coaching talent trees. And after we already discussed our need to improve the offensive line, we got the second upgrade for pocket setter, which will increase the XP gains for left and right tackles in training by 10%. And it is now time for us to take a look at the news headlines from around the league for this week. And we start by taking a look at the receiving leaders thus far. We see leading the way at 939 yards is CD Lamb out of Dallas, but not far away at number 3 is Cooper Kupp, the star receiver of our division rival Rams, who finds himself just under 750 yards, and he is producing even despite their poor record. On Sunday Night Football, it was Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets who came out on top in an absolute classic. As they went into Las Vegas and down big heading into the fourth quarter, they put up a massive 24 to make the late comeback and get the big-time victory. Then, on Monday night, Buffalo defended their home turf against the Broncos, and it was all because of their defense as they picked off Russell Wilson 3 times on the day. Many scouts are buzzing about the middle linebacker out of USF, Bryce Harris, as he has worked his way onto many draft boards with his determined attitude and the chip he seems to have on his shoulder. And as we look forward to this upcoming week, one of the most hyped battles involves our division rivals as the number 2 ranked defense of the Buccaneers heads into San Francisco to take on the number 1 ranked defense of the Niners. But we can now look forward to our matchup coming this week as we head into Houston to take on the Texans. A second straight week in which we find ourselves up against young squads that have yet to find much success, as Houston comes into this game with just 2 wins on the year. And they are coming off a brutal loss a week ago in which they took the Cincinnati Bengals into overtime, and after they put up a field goal on the initial drive, it was the Joe Burrow-led offense that drove down and came away with the walk-off touchdown. But let's take a look at the guys we do have to watch out for. Their offensive identity is displayed on the ground, with the first being the 23-year-old Dameon Pierce. He had a great rookie year a season ago as he rushed for close to 1,000 yards through his first 13 games before suffering a high ankle sprain which would end his season. But he is such a powerful runner, and it is hard for defenses to bring him down. And in the receiving game, one of the best targets is Dalton Schultz. After carving out a nice role in the Cowboy offense over the past 4 seasons, he came over to Houston in the offseason, and it may not be working out as well as he hoped, as in this underperforming offense, he's only been able to get 23 receptions thus far on the year. Their defense is going through a youth movement, and one of the most important guys to that movement is the 3rd overall pick in this past draft, Will Anderson Jr. He was dominant during his time at the University of Alabama, being named the SEC Defensive Player of the Year in back-to-back years, and now he finds himself trying to find his footing in the big leagues as he draws most of the attention from the opposing line. And their best guy in the secondary is the number 3 overall pick from the year before that in Derek Stingley Jr. He had a great first half of the year in 2022 before he suffered a season-ending hamstring injury, and he has done well to continue to be great in coverage and shutting down plays, and he hopes to continue that good play today as he gets matched up against some of our receiving threats. Now that we know who we will be facing this week, it is now time for us to set our game plan for this upcoming matchup. Starting on defense, we know the guy who can change the game in an instant for them is Dameon Pierce, and we have to do our best to make sure he doesn't get that opportunity. And that means we will focus on defending the inside run. On the offensive side, we know the biggest weakness of this Texan unit is their linebacking core and their inability to play against the pass. So, to attack them and avoid testing Jimmy Ward over the top, we are going to focus on throwing to the medium portion of the field. Before we set our goals for the week, we went into our weekly press conference, and the conversation was obviously centered around Kyler Murray. A reporter said Murray is coming off a stellar game in his return and asked if he is in the process of taking the next step. And we answered by saying he played very well, and we think it speaks to that. We would obviously love to get that kind of performance every week, and if we do, we're going to win a lot of games. And with that, we decided his goal for the week would be to either get 350 scrimmage yards with 1 or fewer interceptions, or for him to get 4 total touchdowns. It was then that we were ready to set our game day goals, and they are as follows. Behind Murray's, we first want to win by 17 or more points. This is a team that hasn't been able to get the job done all year, and with us on the hottest of streaks, a big win should be expected. Next up, we want to produce over 350 offensive yards. Going along with the previous, we know we can take advantage of this team, and we should put up some big numbers because of it. On the defensive side, we want to hold the Texans to at most 14 points. Their offense can at times be worrisome for opponents if their run game gets going, but if we can lock that down, we should be able to shut them down. And lastly, we want to allow no more than 2 passing touchdowns. They drafted CJ Stroud number 2 overall this year, and we can't make it easy for the young man. We have to put the pressure on him, have tight coverage, and force him to make some good throws. Both us and Houston proceeded through training for the week, and while we avoided injuries, they were not as lucky. To start, they will be without one of their best corners in Desmond King. He is dealing with a broken collarbone, and that is a massive loss for this defense. And their offense will also be affected as they will be without their veteran wide receiver, Robert Woods, as he has been ruled out with a broken finger. But on a more positive note, we found out that with Ojulari's amazing work in practice, he has earned himself superstar development. We will discuss his abilities in our next news episode, but with that, we have talked about everything we needed to, and we are ready to move on to our next game. If you guys enjoyed, remember to like, comment, subscribe, turn on those notifications down below, and I will see you all next time as we head into Houston to take on the Texans.